1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's cure of the what now?
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the what now?
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh!
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the what now?
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the what now?
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh, served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Hello, fellow tsunderes, and welcome to episode 24 of
Cure of the what now? Yum.
the one show where we know it's okay to talk about your feelings, man. Just let it out. This is a safe place.
Dude, just open up. It's cool. It'll work out for the best 9 times out of 10.
Plus, like, if you're worried about whether or not you're actually helpful, the only person who can tell you that is the one you're trying to help. So,
Or God.
ask. What?
Or God.
Are you telling me that Takumi should find religion?
No, I'm saying that...
Takumi should get a little cross, a little rosary. He should go to confession. Oh my god, Takumi and confession would actually be great.
There's multiple flavors of God, different ways to cook up the divine.
Oh no, sweetie. My name is Kat, and I'd be a really good wife for Joel, I think.
We are married. You are my wife.
I'm a wife?
Yes.
Wow, what does that mean?
I don't know. Let's find out together. I'm your host, Joel, and also, it's pear season, so it's time to harvest a bunch of pears.
Amane,
This is hard work. No, this is not Amane. This is a reference to an episode you didn't watch.
Fruits Queen. Welcome to the episode, folks. This one is actually going up on time. We have woken up bright and early Saturday morning, Sunday morning to deliver unto you podcast.
Absolutely. However, next week's episode will be late. There's nothing we can do about it. We will be out of town, and it would not be a good use of our time and energy to set up the mobile studio and try to get the same sound quality that we get from our home setup.
Absolutely. Maybe we will strong arm, physically wrestle Joel's mom into watching Delicious Party. We would have to, because she doesn't like animated things. And then I can just live record her reaction.
Okay.
Post it to Twitter. I don't think she'd be down. I don't think she'd have a good time with that.
That doesn't sound like my idea of a good time, no.
Yeah.
Nor hers.
So, do we have any other news or announcements you wanted to touch on?
Yes, if you listened to our previous episode and the end seemed kind of abrupt, there was a recording error that I didn't catch until I had gone to edit it, and I'm going to try to salvage it. I haven't looked at it yet as of the time of recording, but there's a pretty good chance that there's a section that we lost where we just did like a crack theory about like what's going to happen next episode, and somehow it just poofed, just went away.
It's really funny when I'm out listening to these episodes and like you'll get, Joel saying, and isn't it incredible how? And then I hear, and thank you for listening to the what now? And I'm looking around like, the episode broke.
Yeah, it's strange.
So stuff happens. We're going to try to work it out. If we can't recover it, then you're just going to have to send us your crack theories for last
Absolutely.
week's episode.
Also, we were doing this at one point, and then I kind of forgot, but the episodes that we collectively watched, some of them I watched on my own, we have finished watching Delicious Party 22, Doki Doki PreCure 9 and 10, and then Max Heart, Futari wa, whatever, episodes 27 through 29. And that's it, I think, for news and announcements.
Absolutely. Let's go into discussion question. Joel, in the mic test today, I pitched which of the PreCure is most likely to be a secret robot, and we decided it was Kome. So I want to take that one step further.
Okay.
If you were going to integrate a technology theme into a season, would you make it like a technology versus nature thing and have the girls be the nature? Would you make cool robot girls somehow? What are you thinking?
I think technology versus nature is a pretty interesting idea that has been pretty thoroughly explored, but I think that it would also be more interesting to have the bad guys also be kind of tech savvy, and what it could be is you could have the bad guys... One could be, like, obsessed with, like, social media and, like, constantly trying to get, like, likes and clouts and all that stuff, and they just, like, they don't have a life outside of social media, which I believe that there's quite a bit of research saying that, like, that's not good for us humans. You know, we need a little bit of touching grass in our lives. Mm-hmm. And then you could they could also get into flame wars, like, on Twitter and stuff like that. And that could be what upsets them and causes them to lash out and create the monsters.
Oh my god, I'm Cure Touch Grass.
And then there could be another character who is, like, addicted to video games, which is kind of similar, but not exactly the same. And I think that, the girls should have cool robotness. Like, I don't know, maybe they have different programs that they could load in order to get their different forms.
You know the scene from Iron Man 2 where he's falling from a plane and he summons his suit and the suit slowly covers him? That is their transformation sequence.
Oh, I really like that.
That would be so sick. Girls like robots too, Toei. just so you know. Imagine
a scene like the Iron Man 2 suitcase scene, you know? Kokona, give me the briefcase! And then she tosses it, and then Rand puts her hands and she just transforms into Iron Man, like, right there.
Oh, that's so sick. I love it.
We made a very dumb joke in our mic test, and it made me think, what if the robots are named Beep and Boop? Actually, it would be
that could be the fairies, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fairies could be Beep and Boop, or the fairies could be Bit and Bite. That would be pretty funny.
And 12 bites is a nibble, right?
The
16?
Hang on,
no.
I'm explaining.
Okay.
8 bits make a bite, and the joke is that 12 is a bite and a nibble. And I don't think that's the official designation, but very funny. Ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Also in math, gosh, this is super nerdy. When you take the derivative of position, you get speed. And when you take the derivative of speed, you get acceleration. But if you take the
Stop talking. Stop. Derivative.
If you take the directive of acceleration, the next 3 are snap, crackle, and pop.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Something I want to throw out before we get into the meat of this episode, because it is on the scratch pad. If you all know me, you know I am what you might call...
a degenerate?
A DILF appreciator.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
A degenerate. I am not the degenerate at this podcasting table.
Why does it have to be one of us?
Oh, that's a good point. Can it be one of our fans instead? It's neither of us.
Okay,
it's some vague person out there in the void. No, so I'm a DILF and a GILF appreciator. And the other day I said something to my dad about, oh yeah, such and such actor has kind of DILFy vibes. And my dad goes, what is that? And I'm like, what? And he goes, DILF, what does that mean? And my mom's sitting in the front seat and my mom goes, you know what a MILF is? And my dad says, yeah, I know what that is. My mom goes, a DILF is that, but dads. And my dad goes, why? Well, Dad, because some people are attracted to women, but some people are attracted to men, and a man can't be a mom.
Well, no, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so I thought that was a really funny interaction with my dad, because clearly he touches way too much grass. Like, be a little more online.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Then you'd know what words mean.
I was about to say, yeah, okay, because I feel like touch grass can also mean, like, get some perspective or whatever, and so I feel like, in that sense, he hadn't touched enough grass of, like, the diversity of life.
He hasn't touched the DILF grass?
He's only touched one specific type of grass, and there's many grasses out there.
Exactly. So, now that we have gotten the DILFergy, that's DILF energy, out of the way... Joel, do you want to tell me what episodes we watched? You did that. Do you want to tell me about the episodes we watched?
Absolutely. So the freshest off the plate is Delicious Party 22, so I will summarize that first. Episode actually opens in media res, fancy high school term for in the middle of action, but they're already fighting an Ubazao. Black Pepper's there. He uses his energy DBZ attack, and the Ubazao deflects it, and Black Pepper's like, nah, you're just making things worse. So this is a Takumi episode in which we find out that Takumi really likes helping other people. It gives him life. However, this also sometimes can feel to him like he is helping when he is not wanted, and so he's worried about that. But then there's a side character that Takumi knows, someone he's trying to help out, and the girls suggest, I think Amane specifically, are like, you could give like a gift with like a little handwritten note if you're not sure how to talk to someone. And we see this side character give a nice handwritten note to basically his girlfriend, kind of a thing. We see Kome Kome give one to Yui, but we also see Precious give one to Black Pepper, which assures Takumi that everything's going to be okay, and that he's a welcome member of the team, even if he sometimes messes up. Doki Doki, episode 9 and 10. Episode 9, School's Haunted, which is kind of funny given what one of the Max Heart episodes is about. But no, Joe is like, hey, take care of this baby.
He's a deadbeat egg dad.
He's not the dad, but like, you are not the father, Joe Okada.
Is he in possession of the child?
Well, I mean, I guess he is the possession of the child.
Then I guess it's his baby.
But yeah, he loads he loads Ai off onto Mana and Rikka while they're going to school. And I don't know if you know this, but 12-year-olds generally aren't expected to bring their baby to school, and especially if the baby can, like, fly and stuff, like, that might raise some questions. So they decide to put the fairies in charge of the baby. Hilarious hijinks ensue, but then the episode ends with them all hunky-dory happy together. Also, I forgot to mention, but in one of the previous episodes with Ai, she was able to briefly use, like, a power that... I can't remember how it manifested last time. I think it slowed the Disdains down for, like, half a second, long enough for the girls to... Oh, she woke them up while they were under the sleep spell. In this episode, Ai gives them super speed, which they're able to use to defeat the bad guys, and that was also hilarious hijinks ensue. In the next episode, it's about Makoto and Rikka and Mana's relationship, because Rikka has started to feel like a third wheel to the other two, to Mana and Makoto, and she doesn't like that. She's used to being the main squeeze for Mana, kind of a thing. And then they realize that maybe you should talk about your feelings, and then Makoto reveals that she was jealous of them, so that's kind of a, that's a plot twist right there. There's much more to discuss about this episode, but for succinct summaries, that'll do. Like I said, I watched 3 episodes of Max Heart. Catherine, you have a customary question that you like to ask.
What happened in Max Heart this week?
We got introduced to a new fairy mascot.
Oh, you love the fairy mascots in this season. Is she cute?
Do you remember when Pollun was first introduced and he was a whiny little baby who cried at the slightest provocation?
Yes!
So the Max Heart people said, you know what? He's kind of grown out of that, which I hadn't actually really, noticed or thought about until this episode, because what they decided was that niche needed to be filled. There was a, what do you call that? What did the capitalists say? That there was an
untapped market?
An untapped market. Right. There's an untapped market for whining little babies. And so we get introduced to Pollun's little sister, ? She's not introduced as his little sister, but she, attaches herself to him, and then in one of the episodes there's a little boy and his little sister, and it's, clearly a direct parallel, so I'm just gonna say she's his sister.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought she was supposed to be, the Pollun love interest.
Maybe, I don't know. But I'm gonna say little sister until the show clarifies. Okay. Max Heart, episode 27, The Girls Harvest Some Pears. It's literally the whole episode. It actually is it has the most meat of all 3 of these episodes, ironically enough.
Okay.
Episode 28, the one that you saw a lot of with me, School's Haunted. This is the episode when Lala or Lolun or whatever her name is. Lulun. This is the episode where she shows up, but she can't find Pollun, and so she's running around the school, and a bunch of people are like, oh my god, it might be this ghost girl who's definitely a real ghost girl and not a rumor that a bunch of upperclassmen made up. And then it turns out that the ghost girl is a rumor that the upperclassmen made up, and Lulun has joined the team. And then episode 29, what happened in episode 29? I actually wrote it down. Big brothers are awesome, and little sisters are cute but needy. So they meet. There's I'm not good with ages, but I think like an 8-year-old and his 5-year-old sister, and she's forgotten her rabbit somewhere, and he goes, okay, just hang tight here, and I'm gonna go find your plush rabbit toy. But then about 6 seconds after he's gone, she starts crying because her brother has abandoned her forever, and what a useless brother, and she wished that she weren't all alone in the world. I'm dramatizing, but like it seriously, she like... everything goes to shit. She's like, my life is ruined because my brother doesn't love me. And Pollun sees this and he goes, oh, this must be how Lulun feels. And then, do you remember in the first season how every episode ended with Pollun being like, accept the power of the light, Popo? In this episode, Hikari is like, she's being grabbed by Pirate Guy, who I guess isn't dead. So I misread the situation, but, he's like trying to like kill her, and, Lulun's like, now you got to accept the light, Lulun! And then there's a flash of light and the bad guy is defeated.
Cool.
And those have been your succinct summaries!
Yay!
I hope that those were more succinct than last week's.
I want to get this out of the way since I didn't watch any of it. Did you like Max Heart, or was there anything that like really stood out to you?
The pear episode. Okay, I joked not joked exactly. The episode was about they go to a pear farm and they do a harvest. But Nagisa has actually developed a character. It only took them 70-some episodes. But in the last batch of episodes for the previous episode of the podcast, I forgot to mention, but Nagisa was actually like... I mentioned the succinct summary that she's worried about her future, but now this seems to be a running theme where she, like, has decided that instead of just kind of, like, letting life happen, she wants to take a more active role, and she's more like Gone Beret. So this episode, 27, starts with her finishing all of her summer homework, like, on time. And she's like, yes! And she's like, next year... I'll do it ahead of time. I'm like, good, Nagisa, you're actually learning. That's a lesson that has taken you 3 years of high school to figure out, or middle school, whatever school she's in. And the pear episode, she does a lot of hard work on this farm, and she realizes how much work goes into making the delicious pears, and she's like, this is pretty awesome. I love working with nature. I'm putting my back into it. I'm supporting this couple, this older couple and stuff. And so, like, yeah. It has the most meat on the bone, like I was talking about, and Nagisa has a character. Maybe Honoka could get the same treatment in another, 20, 30 episodes. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's hard for Honoka to grow as a person because she's portrayed as, like, the perfect young lady.
Yeah, she's kind of like the wise elder or whatever, yeah, and in the body of a 12-year-old.
I think they could have leaned a little harder into making her, like, the rigid and stubborn one.
Oh.
Since she's so smart.
Absolutely. Also, shout out, I personally am of the opinion that Honoka doesn't really show a lot of emotion. She's kind of, the kind of like always calm one. But in the episode where they think the school's haunted, it turns out Nagisa doesn't do well with ghosts. Maybe that was previously established? I don't remember. But at one point, Nagisa has to go back to get her bag, and she's kind of like nervous because she thinks that maybe this ghost will jump scare her or something. And Honoka puts her hand on Nagisa's shoulder from behind, and Nagisa didn't see her, so Nagisa screams, and the next thing is Honoka making this pouty face, being like, you thought I was the ghost? How rude! And I was like, Honoka showed a single emotion!
Yay for Honoka! I saw the ghost episode, and I actually really liked it. Like I've said before, I think this show is at its best when it's doing shenanigans.
Sure.
And also, I like the background characters in this show. I like the girls
Arena
that they go to
Shino,
school
I
with.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. And they played a pretty predominant role. So it was a good episode. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. I also like that Akane is the one who made up the ghost rumor when she was bored as a third year or whatever.
Yeah, she and her friends thought it would be funny to see if they could convince the younger girls there was a ghost.
Which is, I mean, I guess children's shows don't always necessarily take unexpected twists and turns in their narrative, but when I was watching the episode and the two friends were talking about the ghost, I was like, this sounds like something a bored senior would tell, like the incoming freshman in United States terms, but it turned out that it was the upperclassmen who made up this thing for the younger classmen, so that was pretty great.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about Delicious Party or No.
Doki Doki.
Doki Doki next.
Let's talk about Delicious Party because I want my squeeing from Doki Doki to be the final note of this episode.
Okay, so did you like this Delicious Party episode?
Yeah, yes. Okay. I liked this episode, but I thought that it was going to go in a different direction, and I think that it is slightly weaker for not tackling the issue head on. How about you? Did you like this episode?
That is an interesting thought. I also thought it was going to go in a different direction, but I think it was better than the direction that I thought it was going to go in. I liked it a lot. I like Takumi as a character. I really appreciate that his goal is to help people, but he's kind of, he's an awkward teenage boy, so he doesn't know what's actually going to be most helpful. And he really relies on that, peer validation. So at the end of the episode, when he gets a note saying, good job, thanks, buddy, he's, so happy.
Yes.
And I think that's delightful.
We got a note from Magical Girl AU. I don't know if it counts as a Doki Doki heartfelt message. I'm sorry, I can't remember what we decided to call them. But, they were saying that they liked that Takumi got more character development, and I agree. I think he really shone in this episode when he was given the focus. But yeah, so my problem is that I wish that he had had a direct conversation. And I know that, again, children's shows sometimes can be a little formulaic. You've seen one episode where the power of friendship saves the day. You've seen a lot of episodes where power of friendship saved the day. But never once does he actually open up and say, oh, I'm frustrated. He doesn't even talk to Yui and say, man, I want to always help people, but I don't always feel like I'm wanted. And then maybe a little light bulb could go over her head, and maybe that's why she decides, as Precious, to give the note to Black Pepper saying, keep it up. So that's my one criticism, is that in the real world, sometimes you have to kind of assume things about other people, maybe you think that Jim's mad at you, but then Jim invites you out to play a game of basketball, and you don't have to ask him if he was mad at you, I guess, because you're going to, but I just talk about your feelings, man. It's fine. Just tell Yui you're
at the same time.
Sorry.
If every episode the characters were open and honest about their feelings, you would get so bored. You'd be like, can we stop talking about feelings and actually do something?
Well, I guess. I think that the actual conflict has to change. If we have 4 episodes in a row where Shiny Luminous is I don't know if I'm helpful, and then she learns at the end of each of the 4 episodes that the girls want her to help, then I'd be yeah, this is they're just repeating the same steps. But if you had taken this episode with I can't remember his full name, but the guy and the girl, and Takumi as this kind of helper on the sidelines, and then maybe he talks with either Yui or the Yo guy and realizes oh, I have to, if I could just express my feelings a little bit, then the next time we have a Black Pepper episode where he has some conflict, we could have a different conflict.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think it would have been cool too if maybe he had talked to Mari.
Oh,
because Mari
yeah,
spends
absolutely.
so much time with Yui lately. He could be Mari, what do you think it means to be helpful to somebody?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just want to say the title of this episode was misleading because at no point did Black Pepper say, maybe I should retire. It was never even suggested that he was not going to keep fighting with the girls.
It was. It was the subtext of, so like I said, this episode starts with an Ubazao, and then there's a modified version of that same Ubazao later in the episode, to the point where even the PreCure are wait, didn't we fight this one earlier? And Takumi is running towards the delicious field, and he stops for a second, and he remembers Narsatoro being you're not wanted here. But we get exactly 2 seconds of hesitation, and then he shows up in the fight anyways.
Right, I expected it to be a bigger conflict.
Yes.
Usually you put something in the title like that, and that's what the episode is about.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure how I feel about the Delicious Party episode naming schemes, because, it seems like they have to have what the episode is about as one of the 2 headlines, and then the other one is just oh, and there's food in this season too. And it's yeah, we know there's food. It's called Delicious Party. You don't have to put delicious donuts in the title. You don't have to put ripe fruits in the title.
Hey man, food brings smiles. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. I'm just saying that the episode title for this one was weird, and when we talk about next week's episode, it's also a little these 2 things don't necessarily link to each other.
Absolutely. Shout out to Black Pepper's Peppermill spin kick.
Yes.
Super cool. We love our good rider kick in this household.
Of course, and it complements, it's Yui is a punchy girl and Takumi is a kicky lad. It makes use of the kind of heel-ish boots that he has as well. I'm sure that's very painful to get kicked by that. I assume.
Narsatoru, have you heard the song These Boots Were Made for Walking? I only listen to Afro funk.
I only listen to, there's a legitimate genre of music that is like white noise that CJ the X played in that video that I mentioned last week, and it literally just sounded like nails on a chalkboard, and I was like, who enjoys that? People enjoy it, but it's not for me. But that's what Narsatoru listens to. He's like on his headphones, and Secret Toru comes over and puts them on. It's just like
Narsatoru listens to those affirmations where
oh yes,
people whisper in your ear that you're the prettiest and the best.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Really quick, I do want to point out, this was a Black Pepper focused episode, and at the end of the episode, he ended up having a pretty badass moment. So, like I said, the Ubizawa from the beginning of the episode can deflect his energy attacks, and Narsatoru wants to make Black Pepper feel like he's a hindrance rather than a help. But at the end of the episode, he shoots the energy beam, the Ubizawa again, deflects it, but Takumi is able to power up his cape and flick it back, kind of Legend of Zelda versus Ganondorf style, and almost hits Narsatoru with it. And he's like, that same attack won't work twice. And then he kicks them on. It was pretty cool.
It was fantastic. I am a big fan of Black Pepper.
Yeah.
I know he's trying a little too hard, but it's working.
It's the thought that counts. You know, your favorite actually, that's not true. My favorite from Kamen Rider Drive was all heart, no head. So, we love a good Maho, or whatever he's called. Maha!
Kamen Rider Maha! Absolutely. But this is not a Kamen Rider podcast.
No, it is not.
This is a PreCure podcast. Is there anything else you want to say about Delicious Party?
I don't think so.
I have one thing to say about Doki Doki.
Okay.
This is the gayest season of PreCure I have ever seen. Listen to me. In the first episode we watched this week, Lance and Raquel go, yes, we're I-Chan's daddies. So, not only do we have the girls, which we'll talk about in a second, but you've got these gay married fairies, apparently. Good for them. I know, Sharuru was like,
and I'm the mom.
Yeah, I'm the mom, but, that doesn't count for anything. And then, in episode 10, Raquel looks at Rikka, who has been worrying about Mana while she's sitting there getting ready for school. And Raquel goes, you'd make a great wife for Mana. And Rikka's like, haha, you don't know what that means. And she goes to tell Mana about it, and she goes, haha, Mana, isn't that silly? Isn't that funny? Raquel doesn't know what a wife is, and he said I'd be a good wife. Isn't that ridiculous? And Mana goes, no, he's got a point, actually. Because a wife is someone who always supports you that you don't want to live without.
Absolutely. That's just... And, sometimes you see something like that and you wonder, because, yes, we unfortunately are not watching the official translation provided by Toei because Toei won't provide the official translation. But, you might wonder, did the fans take extra, what's it called?
Liberties
with the translation. And Magical Girl AU said, no, that's exactly what they meant. They used the word wife, and they used the word, you could be my wife because you're so responsible and I lean on you. And, wow. I thought that having Akira and Yukari dance was the closest explicit we would get. But, yeah, that was, of the two episodes, I think I liked it better. The one where school was haunted, that had some funny hijinks in it, and I did appreciate that, but 10 just had a bigger heartfelt message, I guess, and more of a interesting take on stuff. I feel like the fairies in episode 9 just kind of decided that they liked Ai, and I get it, they spent time with Ai, but they went from basically not being able to handle this little baby child that was running around using her psychic powers to mess with the school because she thought it would be fun, to reassuring I that the PreCure are going to fight the bad guy to being able to handle I completely, and I was like, where was the moment?
Where are you getting the impression that they were able to handle her completely? Because I thought they all just were so exhausted at the end of the episode they fell asleep.
Oh, I took that to mean that, like, oh, they get along now and they'll start listening to each other, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
So I guess I'm reading too much into it, but, like, I still wish... Because the Mana and Rikka were slightly worried about the fairies being able to handle I, and it turned out that they couldn't, but then the end of the episode ends with them all, like, laughing at Cameron, so it's like, is this solved? Is this not solved? I'm not clear, and I wish that there had been a moment where the fairies had been like, yes, this was a little hard, maybe you could help us in the future, or something, just, you know, a little bit more to develop the conclusion to the conflict.
Sometimes a family is 4 girls and 3 talking animals and their infant child that can fly, and I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Is I growing on you, or has your opinion of her changed at all now that she's been, like, central in an episode?
No, I already thought that I was fairly cute. She hasn't done anything, like, too annoying. She hasn't, like, run directly into traffic after they tell her not to, and then they have to save her or anything like that, which is the impression that Pollun gives me. I am sorry. But, no, she's still cute.
I'm gonna get you a little Pollun plushie, and I'm gonna make you carry it around until he's your best friend.
God, I'm just gonna throw him at the wall, have the dog play with Pollun.
No, Japanese toys are expensive.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe that'll make you think twice before getting me an ugly fairy mascot plush. I did want to bring this up last time. So, Princess Angelica Marie Ange or something, I can't remember what her name is. She had pink hair. She promised to meet up with Makoto. I almost called her Rikka. Makoto in the real world, or meet up with her later. We're on a quest to find her. We are pretty sure that Makoto has been, like, everywhere, singing as loud as she can to try to attract the queen's attention and try to be like, look, it's me, come find me. And the queen hasn't come yet. But we have this egg that hatched, and it has pink hair. And it's connected to the guy who's giving people,
the gems.
The gems, or whatever they're called. And, could this fairy be the reincarnation of the queen? And, like, she'll grow up kind of Kome Kome style. Oh, by the way, Kome Kome has evolved into her next form.
I'm gonna be honest with you, couldn't visually tell.
Interesting. Yeah, it's her hair is a little curlier, I think. But yeah, it's very similar. And it happened off screen. The last couple of times she's evolved, it was at the end of an episode. This one just opens with her, like, saying a full sentence and Marie being like, oh, I'm so proud of her. And it's like, oh, did she evolve? Okay.
I also like the moment when she taps on Takumi's back to say hello, and he goes, who's this child?
Who's this? Why is there a girl just wandering around? We are done talking about Delicious Party. No, I apologize.
There's one scene that we didn't shout out. Okay. That we should have. You know how the fairies have to pretend to be plushies when there are other people around?
Yes.
Kome Kome doesn't have to do that when she's in her human form for obvious reasons. So she's got Mem Mem and Pam Pam in front of her, and she's just sitting there in the background poking Mem Mem in the cheek as he's, like, perfectly still. And every time the camera flashes back to that side of the screen, you can see her still doing it. And that was just delightful. Move, friend. Why, friend, move.
That was pretty great. Cure Kome Kome when, except if you are keeping up on the latest PreCure news, you know Kome Kome PreCure when. Back to Doki Doki. So do you think that this fairy is the queen? What are the chances?
I think it's pretty likely.
Okay.
Also, hey, if you listen to this episode and you know which is the more accurate translation, is she a queen or a princess? Because in Glitter Force they call her princess, but I also know that American companies don't like to have good guys be queens because of the Disney vibes. That's why Princess Celestia in My Little Pony was a princess and not a queen. So,
absolutely.
Please do tell us so that we are using the most accurate term.
Of course. I mentioned that I liked episode 10 and that it had kind of a more, I guess, deeper meaning, or it clicked with me a little bit better. But we find out that Makoto has a fan club, and some of them, I believe, are supposed to look kind of like Yakuza or kind of like rough street boys or whatever, but they're actually like, they adore her to a certain level, and I thought that was kind of like cute, and they have like hearts on the back of their jacket. I know that that's kind of a joke that a lot of anime have, is like the tough guy is actually sweet, but I think it worked out pretty well. I will say though that there was the head of their club was like, oh, Makoto, I love you, and it's like his jealousy that creates the disdain, and Rick is kind of like, oh, I was feeling jealousy too, and that's not good. But they make it seem like the reason why it's bad is because it's someone who is intruding on an idol's private life, when in fact, I believe that it's Makoto, who was somewhere between the ages of 12 and 14, being creeped on by someone who looks like an adult, and so that was uncomfortable for me for different reasons other than, no, I can't be the only one to love her. I mean, it's weird to have a crush on a celebrity if you're not a celebrity yourself, but at the same time, it's the age gap that's problematic.
Absolutely. If he were, like, a younger person who looked up to her, that would be different than, you know, you've got somebody who's old enough to be a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about his crush on this middle school girl.
We had some classmates who, in fact, were like, oh my gosh, it's Makoto. Oh, Makoto transferred to the school, which is, I guess, noteworthy. But, so this was like her first day at class, and everyone loved her, and it turned out she's bad at everything. But
she does it all with style.
Yeah, she does do it all with style, and she's trying her best, and I'm sure that she'll figure it out soon. Although, shout out to her saying, I'll clean this up, and she makes a hand gesture, and Mauna goes, what are you doing? And Makoto goes, oh, I used to have servants who would come and clean it up at the palace. Don't you have that at school? And Rick ends up being the one who cleans it. So maybe Rick is just everyone's wife, the reliable pillar for them all.
She just is a wife. I'm not gonna lie, like, sometimes you just fall into that role, and that's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the difference, do you think, between being the wife friend and being the mom friend?
One of them you can kiss? I don't know. I don't know.
Rick hasn't kissed anyone on screen. Come on now. Let's not get fanfic mixed up with the show.
No, but I'm just like, what is the difference? And it's just like, I don't know, a wife is someone that you could have a romantic, like the wife friend, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I guess it would be, the wife friend would be a friend who kind of feels like you're equal, who's supporting you, and the mom friend feels like someone who's kind of like an authority figure that you like turn to, or like who kind of tells you what to do, but in softer terms.
Okay, it's the person who's taking care of you rather than supporting you to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts you want to discuss about Doki Doki? I have one that I just thought of.
Go ahead.
Bell is talking in the background of the bowling alley, and in the last couple of times he's done this, he's been very intimidating and very flippant, but this time he's all banged up, his jacket is ripped, he's got band-aids on his face, and Ira just laughs at him. And he goes, like, nice bruises, old man. Yeah,
I felt like they had more of a back and forth in this episode than they have in other episodes. It worked better for comedy, but I think I called it. That, like, now that Bell has been defeated once, he's no longer going to be this, like, maniacal threat. He's just going to be another one of the three interchangeable, whatever.
Yeah, which is a shame, because I really liked Intimidation Bell.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the next episode brings. That's my final thought on Doki Doki. Do we have any love letters this week?
No, we do not.
Okay, good. We can move straight on to thoughts for the future. Now, you had some vibes when you read this title. Do you want to read it for us?
Is Kokone selfish? Unforgettable donut holes. I'm sorry. Okay, so put aside the fact that just like the word hole in certain contexts is just funny or whatever, but is Kokone selfish? That's a yes or no question. And then the subtitle, which seems to be supplying the answer, is unforgettable donut holes. I'm sorry. Is Kokone eating all of the donut holes? Is Kokone being selfish because she once tasted a donut hole when she was like 4, and now she's making everyone come with her to try and find the shop that sells them or whatever?
This has got to be about her parents, right? So she probably has, like, in the past gone to get donut holes with her mom, and her angst for this episode will be, I want to try that taste, those glorious holes with my mom one more time. But my mom is leaving, and does it make me selfish to want her to be here with me to eat donut holes? And the girls would be like, no.
Okay, so this is probably going to get cut out, but holes in my DP, it's more likely than you might think. And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and don't forget to talk about your feelings.
Joel, that was so cursed that if you decide to cut it out, you can't cut it out. You just have to put the hummy sound on it.
No.
Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.